What's going on? What's going on, people? How y'all feeling today? This is Crazy D, early in the morning. You know, it is TFR Talk Live with your host, Crazy D. How y'all doing today? I'm gonna do some population, and then we're gonna get into this real quick. We're gonna talk about what we're gonna be talking about today. Very interesting topics today, if I must say so myself. We're going to be talking about memories of retail. This is going to be a new segment on TFR Talk Live where we discuss my time in retail, right? Then we're going to be discussing Wayne Powers. You know, Wayne Powers came on episode 83 of the film review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society, the weekend before he won big at the Studio City Film Festival for his film LovesMe LovesMeNot. And, you know, he had a comment for us, and we're going to be discussing that because, you know, not only does the film review films, but we get reviewed. And so far, we've had nothing but happy customers, right? Happy people who have been interviewed with us. So, to begin, where do we begin? Well, let's begin with the fact that the election season is coming up, or it's in full swing. People are just running around all around the different states trying to get known and things, and at the same time the impeachment is going on, and at the same time the Civil Rights Act of 1866 was heard on Wednesday in front of the Supreme Court, who many feel are going to gut the law. And there's been a schism, like there always is with black folks. There's always a schism where some people believe this isn't going to affect us, others believe that it will, but in the end, what happens is more of our rights are eroded away, right? So while people are arguing and beefing and all that, more of our rights are being taken away. We are live now. All those in my messenger, we ready to put it through to you, so you can chime in or call in. 213-943-3358. All right, so as I populate just a little bit more, we're going to get started here so that we can get started. All right. So look, the first thing I want to talk about is the new segment that that we have on the show, which is called TFR Memories of Retail. And what I'm going to talk about today as far as retail is concerned, right? What am I going to talk about? Well, let's talk about how it all kicked off, how I got into film in the first place, right? Okay, so to set the scene so people will know for future episodes about where I come from, right? I spent 15 years in retail, owning a retail establishment on the southeast side of Cleveland, Ohio, in Warrensville Heights, Ohio, which is the first southeast side suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. All right, so I spent 15 years in retail, and so my ideas on marketing and promotion are shaped from those 15 years in retail. Because if you didn't have people coming to your store, then you weren't able to have your salary and also feed yourself, right? So it comes down to feeding yourself and providing for your family, and that's what we did at Crazy D's Music Palace 15 years in, right? So within my 15 years of retail, I've had many different experiences, and what I found was when I began to want to shoot commercials for my retail establishment, I couldn't find videographers that could produce for me what they produce for themselves, right? They would have all kinds of images flying in, titles flying in, everything. But when it got to producing for another individual, it seemed as if they couldn't produce a commercial for me like what they were doing for themselves. It was much like when I got into music. There were only 2 engineers in the whole time that I produced music. For those who don't know, we're going to break this all down so it can be clear. When you're a producer, you can walk into an engineer who is probably also a producer, right? He produces probably music for groups that he's interested in, and he also, why not open up a studio, because you're an engineer and you can engineer other rap acts pieces too. So there were only 2 engineers in the whole time that I was producing music that actually could produce and actually put out something that sounded great, you know. And I want to get to, I'm not knocking people who produced in Cleveland, because there were a lot of people who could produce for themselves and the music would sound excellent, but then when you came in, it was like a little competition thing. But anyway, 2 producers, Mix Master Quick and EQ, and both of them once were a production team together, but they broke apart. And they say the reason why they broke apart is one believed in having the vocals above the music, and one believed in having the vocals in the music, and that's why they say that they broke apart as the history goes, right? So these 2 men were only 2 engineers that I could go to and trust, because I tried other engineers and for some reason they couldn't produce what, you know, I needed, right? So then, thus and so, like what I'm saying, when I deal in film, I had to go and then build my own studio, and then start to produce the music and engineer and mix it down the way that I know that it would sound great. And you hear those songs now on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon. So just like what I did in music, I decided that I would pick up a camera, because I had a background in photography. And so I decided I would pick up a camera and then begin to record images. And I purchased a editing platform and placed it on my computer at the store, and I began to shoot and edit my own commercials, right? So I started to shoot and edit my own commercials, and I had the only true bona fide hip hop commercial running on air, where it was a retailer, because I came from the hip hop background. And so I actually had MCs actually flowing on the TV commercial, and it was one of the most popular commercials. And at the time, I remember that the Source magazine had come into town, and you know, for some reason, the street team seemed to always want to let me preface this by saying, as we tell these memories of retail, that they were some were in the same age group as me. So there were older retailers, but I was the youngest retailer. And I guess the young people who were still marketing and promoting on the streets probably had just a little envy and jealousy of a person who had started on the college campus DJing, started making his own mixtapes, started producing rap acts, which I had been producing rap acts since I was 14, producing rap acts and taking his promotion and marketing of throwing parties at large halls that fit thousand people. Going from that to opening up my own retail establishment, you know, they had, it appeared to me, a little envy and jealousy of that. And so they would always try to steer the acts to other stores, right? To the older retail establishments. But it just so happens that the commercial, like I said, I'm editing and putting commercials on. It just so happens that this commercial comes across the TV screen while the Source magazine reporter and photographer were in their hotel room. And they asked the street team, and how I'm going to tell you how I know this. They asked the street team, well, who is this right here? He picked up the phone, he called the number. I said, yes, I'm here, I'm always open, 20,000. Well, anyway, we won't say the address because I'm no longer there. But, so they came in, they got the interview, they shot the photographs. And though other retailers got write-ups, we are the only legitimate retail establishment that had a write-up, and we were pictured inside of the magazine, the actual pictures of myself and my group in the November 1999 issue of the Source magazine. They had a few different covers, but the one that I remember had Q-Tip on the cover, along with Mos Def, I believe. But it's the November issue was green. But anyway, so that just goes to show you the power of having commercials and having a legitimate, actual hip hop commercial that actually played in Cleveland, Ohio, right? So let's fast forward. So I'm doing commercials and I'm starting to jot down ideas about telling my 15 years in retail, right? And so a woman comes in and she wants some editing done on images that she caught with her handy cam, right? Her camcorder of her kids who are involved in a swim team, the only African American swim team at the YMCA at the time, right? So she gave me the card. I downloaded the footage, handed her back her card. I gave her the price that it would be for that service, and I went to editing, and I told her I would have it done that Friday because she came in on a Monday, and I said I would have it done that Friday. I had it done that Wednesday. She came in on Thursday to watch it. So she came in and she watched it and she began to cry. And she was touched because she told me what music she wanted underneath it. And so what it is I told the story from beginning, middle, and end, and I put the music under it that represented triumph from the kids first learning how to swim, etc., etc. and she was really touched that she wanted it produced so she could go on and get sponsorship for her swim team, the only African American swim team at the YMCA at the time. And so she was able to go on and gain sponsorship from off of the video presentation that I had edited up. But when she began to cry, I looked at my wife afterwards and I told her, I think I'm on to something here, right? And all of this came about because I always wanted to spread the good fortune and work with people. There were, like I said, there were videographers who could have things flying in and titles and everything. But when it came to producing for me, even though they weren't in the same business as me, it just appeared to me that even they had envy and jealousy for some reason. I don't know, because I was young, I was successful, and I mean, that's just the way that I see it. Because when you're a videographer and you don't check your lenses and you have a smudge on the lens, like placed in a place that can't be edited out, it can't be cleaned out, and there's a finger smudge, and you're getting paid to do the job, you should have an aptitude to do it and not be inept. And so that's what I saw, that a lot of people were inept. So from those experiences, as I produce for others, I say that I'm going to produce for you like I would produce for myself, so that you will be seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated, and you will be proud to display the finished product. What I found in my life, what I found through my experiences is most people cannot separate their personal desires away from their business sense. And what do I mean by that? Or should I say, due to that, they have lack of business sense. And this is what I mean by that. You may see someone that, as a producer, is hotter than you, and they're coming to you to engineer it to give them that sound that you can give, that you gave your music. But if you don't do that, then your personal feelings are are in full effect, and you are not able to have true business acumen, right? You're not able to do that. So it's poor business practices, right? That's one. And so seeing that and then experiencing it again within videography, that means that personally you have what would be considered self-hate, right? Because if you love yourself, then you can love others. If you don't love yourself, then you won't be able to love others. So that means that you become covetous of what you do and you don't want to put it forth. But with me, because I had that experience within music and within that, I had to go on and then start to produce for myself and then start to shoot and edit, right? And so I shot and edited and I became quite good at it, right? Being able to, having a background, it never ceases to amaze me how, like in education, people say, what will this particular geometry or trigonometry or algebra or plain old arithmetic, what will it do for me in the future? What will this ability to be able to write English, what does English class have to do with my future? What does science have to do with my future? What does learning how to type have to do with my future? Right? And I would have to say, look, first of all, I learned how to write scripts back in the third grade with what was my speech teacher. You know, I had a speech teacher because I had an R and an S pronunciation problem as a youth, and they had a speech teacher at Lafayette Contemporary Academy. And she was also the drama teacher. So as she corrected my S and my R, she also saw that other than that, my ability to express myself was all the way there already. It just had to be, you know, it was a diamond in the rough, right? So she began to teach, you know, take a group of us and put on productions at the elementary school. And it's amazing, right? Because learning how, in those scripts, you know, it had also upstage, downstage, you know, the stage direction. But from that, I took that knowledge of script writing and took out the stage and just put in the direction of the actor and all that, and how the actor was feeling. And I started writing scripts about my 15 years in retail, right? And now remember this, all of this comes from non-cooperative people, right? So that means that because you were non-cooperative, I was able to then go on with my intelligence, with my intellect, and ability to execute. And I went on to be proficient at both music production and engineering and filming, creating the correct images and sound, because I had a background in analog and digital sound. So my sound reinforcement game is incredible. You know, I'm just saying this, you know, not to be braggadocious, but people tell me, so I can repeat what they say. You know, I stay humble with it, but the fact is that the balance of the sound is there, right? So as I'm looking at this, right? So I'm creating and writing my scripts out about my 15 years in retail, right? And I came up with a title, The Black Ice Chronicles. Originally, it was Black Ice to the Block, because that was what the strip mall that my store was in was called, the Block, because it was one block from Warrensville Center to 190, right? 190th Street, right? On Harvard Ave, right? So I started to write this, and remember, all of this germinates from non-cooperative people, which meant that I then elevated above them and then began to set the pace, because I was not a videographer. I was and am a filmmaker, and that is different. A filmmaker is different than a videographer. I can look at a videographer's work and tell the only thing they know how to do is maybe sync a song to the video that they edit. Maybe the lips might be synced. Maybe the hip movement maybe the dance might be synced. They might not be. But they definitely can't work with live sound because they're videographers. It's going to be noisy, right? They're just videographers, right? So from them being non-cooperative, they produced a person, they didn't produce. They helped a person to self-produce themselves, to create themselves, right? And once you understand that you're not the great I am, therefore I am, but you are I am, therefore I am, you realize that that ability is always inside of you. And the challenges that you have with others may cause their demise as far as being viewed as good, because your I am, therefore I am fully manifests itself. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, right? So in these memories of retail, so I began to produce that, and I went on to send films out to film festivals. I won multiple film festivals. A lot of them are overseas because they tell me I have a European sensibility about my art. So I won quite a few of those, and I have those laurels, right? But I have a couple of them, film festivals where I actually won awards. I interviewed the people, and I actually have the proof of me actually winning the Las Vegas International Film Festival award. You know, so that just goes to show you how through struggle, because it's always a struggle, through struggle, you advance, right? Without struggle, there is no advancement. So, you know, the people try to be a hindrance, and all it does is, when you understand who you are, you know, not on an ego trip, not on any of that, but when you understand who you are, you know how you should succeed, because you know who you are. And thus and so, once you know who you are, then different chambers, I'll call it that for a better word, different chambers open up for you, and you begin to be able to move differently. And at the same time, you say to people, here is what I offer, here's what I do. You know, come on board and let's make it happen, you know. And so that right there is a memory of retail. You know, when I was in retail, that comes up how it all began. It began from non-cooperative people, and from there it blossomed into what we do today. You know, confident, you know, so, you know, that's just food for thought. Like, it would be so much better if everyone could get along, but they have, people have different views. You know, I put out, just to, before we move on to the next subject, because this kind of ties in, right? I put out the boycott for Comcast. I'm the only one who put out a boycott to punish Comcast for trying to take our 1866 Civil Rights Act away, right? You know, the law that all the other laws are based on, right? And then I had a person, you know, I'm the only one who called for a boycott. There's the thing from Congressman Bobby Rush, where he's calling for Comcast to be broke up, and then, you know, of course, Byron Allen, his case was heard in front of the Supreme Court that Comcast brought to gut what the portion of the Civil Rights Act 1866 section 1981 that he used, right, to gut that, so that we could be back to, so black people be back to no rights 1865 in 2020. Okay, so the person wrote that they had done some research on it, and They didn't never tag me in it. They just wrote it on the thing. And I happened to see that the person had wrote it, right? And so I was just reading through, and the person said that they had ran through and looked like it was a dick swinging contest. I said, a dick swinging contest? What kind of psychologically damaged thought process is that? A dick? Whose dick is? But anyway, people, I got to keep it clean, so I don't know how that came out. But look, so they were saying that, and they also said that there was something that the Congress would have to re-look at again. And I'm like, where are you getting your information from? And then the person said that it's no need to have a boycott. It doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't it make any sense? One, you're not established enough. I know you're not being funded by Comcast. Comcast is not in this area, right? But Cox is, and Cox is just the same. And so that's why in my boycott, I named all the different places that I left out Warner, but I should have put Warner in there. That you boycott them all, right? But definitely boycott Comcast. And first said there's no need for a boycott. So I was like, wow, this person acts like they have stock in Comcast or something or another. So what did I do? I blocked her. That's right, people. I blocked her because it doesn't make any sense. Protect your rights, right? So that goes into how people's minds can think totally differently. They're your same hue, or they're your same race, or but their minds think differently. And my mind is protect what allows you to move around freely. And that's why people should have protected what made them move freely as videographers in Cleveland, Ohio, because once I got started, everybody was trying to follow the pace, and everybody was coming to get those edits, right? And so that's the story of the day on TFR Memories of Retail. It's a new segment we're going to have in TFR Talk Live with your host, myself, Crazy D. Right? So now, let's move on to the next. Which is Wayne Powers, right? Wayne Powers came on to be interviewed on episode 83 of the film review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society podcast live that happens every Sunday at 5:30. Originally broadcasting or streaming on Crazon Dion page, Crayon Dion, Deeyon profile on Facebook. And it also originally plays on Blog Talk Radio, right? Under the film review. You can just type in the film review Crazy D Radio in the search bar on Blog Talk, and all of our episodes come up and you can listen there. Then they replay an hour later on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, what else? Google Play, Podcast Addict, and Spotify. So we're expanding and developing and continuing to develop and expand our signal, right? So Wayne Powers came on episode 83, and you can connect to that easily on LordlandFilms.com. Go to LordlandFilms.com and you will see the cover art for each episode. You click on the cover art and it takes you straight to the episode on your favorite podcast provider, right? So he came on and he thoroughly enjoyed himself. So as you see at the top of this, he says, thanks to the best podcaster right? The film review. Thanks to the best podcaster, right? That's what Wayne Power says, right? Because we get the signal out, right? We get the signal out to the people in various different countries. We have the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Poland, Sweden, Turkey, Iraq, Egypt, Ethiopia, Malawi, Pakistan, India, Australia, Spain, Czech Republic, Uzbekistan, Thailand, Peru, and we just picked up Indonesia. Now, do you understand, people? You know, these are the analytics where we're going, where we're being heard, because we market and promote. Now, in the future episodes of TFR Talk Live and Memories of Retail, I'm going to be discussing, discussing my method of marketing and promotion, why it works, where it comes from. Because again, if you didn't sell, you didn't eat. Okay? So that's very important. So Wayne Powers, his film, LovesMe LovesMeNot. The metaphor in the film is excellent. And I'm not going to go over it. I just wanted to bring this up and show you that not only does the film review film, but the film review is reviewed by those who come on and are on the show. We have happy interviewees that come on the show. Yes, we do. And so tune in every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. You can, tune in, enjoy it, and then you see it and hear it on the different platforms. It replays also on the YouTube channel. TV shows and films by Crazy D. Make sure you subscribe there. Make sure you subscribe to all the podcasts, and make sure that you reach out, because we make sure that that all of the filmmakers talk and give opportunity to upcoming actors and upcoming filmmakers by giving them an opportunity to possibly be in one of their films. We always talk about how you can contact in to the people, right? And so that's always very important as we go on, right? So that's very important as we go on, as I do a little population here. Now, people, moving on to our next topic. Make sure that you, again, go to LordlandFilms.com. LordlandFilms.com. On the home page is the portal where you can click on the different podcasts and different episodes of the film review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society podcast, and listen, right? We're doing our thing. Now, people, I came across an interesting meme that I wanted to talk about. It was put over by Black is Too Beautiful, right? It's a page or a profile on Instagram. Black is Too Beautiful, and this meme is very interesting, and so I decided I would put it across and talk about it for a second, right? So here it is, right here. All right, so Black is Beautiful Too has a meme that says, "None of my ancestors died for me, so I can vote for the white people that killed me." Let's go over that again, because that is it's a very important thought, right? Very important thought. None of my ancestors died for me so I can vote for the white people that killed me. Right? Think about that for a minute. Take that in. Take that in for a minute and really begin to digest that for a second. None of my ancestors died for me so I can vote for the white people that killed me. That right there, as a concept, as a thought process, is a mean and a sentence that frees the mind. The mind is opened and it is freed by this statement when you really think about it. Why would my people die so that their descendants can vote for the people who killed them? I've often heard people say, people died for us to have the right to vote. People, here it is, people. People did not die for us to have the right to vote. They died because the people who didn't want them to vote were white supremacists and racist. That's why they died. They didn't know that they were going to die. They didn't think that they were going to die going to try to vote. They didn't think they were going to die. So they didn't die for black people to have the right to vote. They died because the people are white supremacists and racist. And why are they white supremacist and racist? Because of a fear of a black planet. Now, we've discussed this before, but we have to get this through people's heads. Through biology. Remember, I always ask, why was science so important? Science sits right up there in biology class and tells you, and maybe it went over your head because you were so bored in science. But science says dark skin, dark eyes, dark hair, dominant. Pale skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, recessive. They ran experiments with the Tasmanians, the Germans did. And they found out that when they raped the women, the babies came out looking more like the woman or looking more like the woman's husband. Same thing during slavery. That's what they found out. They came out looking more like the woman or the slave woman's husband more than it looked like the master. And that's what they discovered, right? And then if you come across a person like me who comes from mixed lineage, once my mom, who loved her mother and father, they were married. Now let's run this down, because my perspective on race is just slightly different than others. I don't judge white people by what they did in slavery, though I do keep that there and say this is what you did and this is how. My grandmother and my grandfather moved up to Cleveland, Ohio. Ohio was one of 2 states in the Union that allowed interracial marriage. They moved up, got married, and then began their family. They had 3 daughters and 2 sons. All of them were fair-skinned, right? What you would call fair. Not yellow bone, not red bone, but fair. almost to the point of where they could, what they considered past. But no, because they loved their mother so much, they were who they were as black people, and they married people who reminded them of my grandmother, their mother, right? My grandmother was dark brown. Her eyes so dark that they were blue. Midnight. Beautiful, beautiful woman. And they married men or women who reminded them of their grandmother, and thus here I am today. That's right. So I am a prime example of fear of a black planet. Me and my sibling are a prime example of a fear of a black planet, because it comes back to us, because the gene is dominant and recessive genes, right? It is dominant. So even if it lays dormant, something activates it. So if someone is passing, like we talked about that when we spoke to the director of Doubting Thomas, which is about passing, right? And how a brown baby is produced from what would be considered a Caucasian family, a brown baby with curly hair, beautiful brown baby was born, right? And you can hear that interview on episode 84 of TFR, again on LordlandFilms.com. You click there, and you click there, you type that in, go there, click on the cover art, and it takes you straight to that particular podcast. And we had a robust discussion, right? And so I'm a prime example of that. So when you start to talk about people dying so that we would have the right to vote, they didn't know the white folks would be so sick in the mind to kill them because they are in fear of a black planet. But that is what it is, and that's why they didn't die just so that we could vote. They died because the people who ran things were like they are now, white supremacists and racist. That's it. So when this meme is freeze your mind of the chains. And so I put that up there because a lot of us already know this, already have knowledge of this, but it's being able to put it into a coherent sentence, a concise wording that puts it across to the people clear, they can get it. One sentence. None of my ancestors died for me, so I can vote for the white people that killed them. Right? So that's it, people. This has been episode 6, I believe, of the Film Review Talk Live with your host. That's me, Crazy D. Don't forget to go to my Instagram, Crazy D Film Dude, and follow. Go to Crazon Dion on Facebook and friend. Go to LordlandFilms.com page on Facebook and follow and like. Go to Twitter, handle at CrazyDDVD, and follow there. And what can I say? This has been another great show, and we're going to be coming back with topics, and we're going to be coming back with more memories, TFR, Memories of Retail. And if it gets good, I'll break it off and make it a whole nother talk show where we talk about retail and how it applies and the techniques of retail, how it applies to marketing and promotion, different stories, crazy stories. And always remember, you can type in the Black Ice Chronicles on YouTube and watch the various seasons that are based on my 15 years of retail, right? You can go over to Vimeo and watch the films that came from off of there, the seasons that came from off of my 15 years in retail, moving into Las Vegas and telling the tales of what happened in Las Vegas. You can also go there and type in the Black Ice Chronicles and it will come up, okay? Lordland Films. I always say Lordland Films, the Black Ice Chronicles, and it will come up and you'll be able to watch all of those various episodes, all right, on Vimeo. So we're across all platforms and we expand all the time, and we'll be talking more about that. But again, people, always remember, none of my ancestors died for me so I can vote for the white people that killed them, okay? Always remember that. Always remember, it is the I am, therefore I am inside of you that will make you advance and succeed. And people who think like that, you should gravitate to those who show no hate, because self-hate is a manifestation that you don't realize that you are connected to the great I am, therefore I am, which is the answer to why we are here in the first place. More on that in weeks to come, right? So we would like to thank everyone that chimed in. I see Tanya Congress chimed in. A lot of great commentary on the side there. Make sure you read that and comment back, and I'll come back later. So we are finished for right now. It has been a great episode, and we'll be back. The film review, talk live with your host Crazy D, and we'll see you next time.